Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are getting into a really fascinating set of source materials. It's essentially a highly detailed blueprint for radical personal transformation.
Yeah, we're going to distill its most potent lessons.
Exactly. And our topic today, it's not really about just, setting goals. It's a complete philosophical overhaul. It's all designed to help you become your absolute dream self.
Hmm.
And the writer of this guide, she is so confident. She promises that if you follow these steps, you won't just achieve your dreams, but you'll actually outdo every single one of her desires.
Which is a colossal promise.
Hmm.
And, what we find in the source material is a corresponding level of rigor. This isn't just like motivational cheerleading.
No, not at all.
It's a really extensive narrative. It's lessons that are distilled into actionable steps for some pretty profound self-development.
Yeah.
So our mission here is to unpack the mechanics of this identity shift. We're focusing on why habit change has to follow, not, precede, this kind of radical internal transformation.
Yeah.
This guide is a roadmap, really, for gaining knowledge quickly, but also thoroughly.
I think the most challenging part of this entire philosophy, and it's right at the start, is the idea that before you can even begin building that ideal future self, you have to sacrifice the one you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
The source material calls this the necessary first step, the funeral.
It's the ultimate counterintuitive move, isn't it? We usually focus on addition, add a new habit, learn a new skill.
Yeah, correct.
But here, the focus is entirely on subtraction.
Yeah.
The author insists that you have to first grieve the version of you that played small.
And that requires you to actively kill off the old parts of yourself. I mean, why use such forceful language? Kill off a funeral. Isn't that a bit dramatic for what should be, a gentle evolution?
I think that intensity is intentional. The gravity of the change, it requires it. The old identity, the one that's tied to fear, to your comfort zone, to those self-limiting beliefs, it's actively working against your future.
So it's like a constant pull backwards.
Exactly. If you don't create a clear, almost ceremonial break,
Yeah.
that old identity has this gravitational pull. It'll try to reassert control every time you face stress or uncertainty.
That's where the line between, say, mourning and criticizing becomes so important. How do you stop yourself from looking back at your old self and just getting, frustrated or judgmental?
That is the key psychological hurdle. The source really emphasizes that this funeral, it needs grace, compassion, and self-love, not criticism. You have to understand that the old version of you was just living with the information that she had at the time. She wasn't flawed. She was just surviving.
Right, based on what she knew.
Exactly. So you honor her for getting you this far, but you release her from service because now you have new information and a new path.
So the core logic is you just cannot carry an outdated identity, the old self-talk, the hesitation, into a new reality. If you want to operate at a higher frequency, the old identity is just incompatible.
It's incompatible. And this leads to a really practical, actionable step that immediately tests your commitment.
Which is what?
Stopping the connection with the old version in new environments. You stop introducing yourself as who you've always been. Oh, I'm just a shy person, or I'm bad with money.
Right, you stop reinforcing it.
You do. And instead, you start introducing yourself, both to yourself and to others, as who you are about to become. It's an immediate declaration.
That sets us up perfectly for the next idea, which is this really challenging concept of quantum leaping. This is where you deliberately act as if the transformation has already happened, even when you have, zero tangible results to show for it. And the author admits this feels completely delusional at first.
It feels delusional because your current reality totally contradicts your internal projection. You're basically asking your brain to believe a fantasy, and that triggers a huge amount of cognitive dissonance.
But that dissonance is the point.
It's what forces the system to change. You have to occupy the emotional and behavioral space of the future self right now.
There's a specific illustration that made this so clear for me. If you want to become an influencer with 1 million followers, you can't wait for the 1 million followers to start acting like one.
Right.
You have to post, you have to be consistent, like a professional, and this is the key part, you have to talk to an audience that you don't already have. You're projecting it into existence.
Exactly. The alternative is just waiting for external validation, which puts the timeline completely out of your control.
And if you keep telling yourself the old story, like, I'll start when I'm bigger, or I'll start when I'm more ready.
And your brain is just rewiring itself to stay stuck in that prep phase forever.
So when we talk about change on this scale, what does the source say is the biggest obstacle? Because I think most people assume it's just, the effort involved.
The sources are really clear on this. The hardest part isn't learning new things. It's unlearning everything you've grown to be so accustomed to. Just think of all the unconscious behaviors, the defensive things you do, the ways you might sabotage yourself that feel familiar. And because they're familiar, they feel safe. Unlearning means tearing out that foundation.
And that's where the outside world comes in, right? We're constantly being reinforced by the stories people who love us have told us about ourselves. They knew us when we were shy or whatever it was.
Precisely. You have to consciously detach from that old story. What society, friends, and peers have consistently told you that you are. That's what allows the new story to finally begin.
So if your friends are always bringing up your past failures, you kind of have to create some distance.
You do. Until you stop allowing who you have been to determine who you can be, you're just going to stay trapped by what everyone else expects.
Okay, so if your conscious mind is fighting you on this, the author gives a really practical, almost theatrical tactic to force the change. And that's creating an alter ego.
The alter ego is a brilliant psychological tool. It gives your mind permission to behave in ways that your current, your fearful self would just instantly shut down.
It's like a suit of armor.
It is. It's a temporary suit of emotional armor, and it separates the fearful you from the successful character you need to become.
And the source writer used this herself to overcome being incredibly shy and quiet. She fully stepped into the character of the most confident version of herself.
Which allowed her to adopt those extroverted traits and behaviors before she actually felt ready or deserving or worthy to have them.
She basically bypassed her own imposter syndrome by just delegating the confidence to this character.
Yes. And by consistently acting in this new way, speaking up, taking the lead, she built enough evidence, real-world evidence, to overwrite the old shy identity. Eventually, the alter ego stops being an act and it becomes the new you.
I find the connection here so important. Once you have this new, bolder identity, the whole focus of the journey shifts. You move from focusing on that huge, intimidating end goal, $1 million, the dream relationship, and you shift that energy completely onto the minute-by-minute process.
You start to realize that the goal isn't something you achieve in the future. It's something you earn through the daily mindset changes, through the preparation. The focus shifts to becoming the type of person who naturally gets that outcome.
The relationship example they use is perfect for this. Most people who want a dream relationship focus on external stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where to meet the person, what they want in a partner.
But here, the focus shifted entirely to self-work, to the internal.
And it was a ruthless self-audit.
It really was. The steps involved reading tons of books on healthy relationships to, proactively avoid falling back into toxic patterns. That's not self-help, that's self-defense.
I like that.
And it also meant setting clear dating standards. And this is a big one, taking myself on dates to build confidence and independence outside of a relationship.
She was becoming the gold standard she was looking for.
Exactly. The goal became identify toxic traits and patterns from ex-relationships and then actively become the type of person that could be a soulmate to somebody else. You're not hunting for a soulmate. You are preparing yourself to receive one.
That level of intention leads right into the next point, which is the need for constant self-education. The source points out a huge knowledge gap around wealth and financial literacy. Wealth was the goal, but the basic understanding just wasn't there. It wasn't taught in school, not by family.
And this is where the democratization of knowledge really empowers this whole transformation. The solution wasn't finding some expensive course. It was just searching for the tools and resources that are readily and freely available to literally everyone.
The only barrier was the fear of looking like you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
And the resources listed show this really broad approach. Foundational books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but also newer stuff like Girls That Invest.
Which is a fantastic resource, by the way.
It is. And then supplementing all that with free content, YouTube videos on ETFs, pensions, stock market basics, podcasts.
The goal was just to get over that initial hump. You just need enough knowledge to jump in and start, and you learn as you go. What's compelling is that she admits it's continuous. Even 2 years in, she's not resting. She's seeking more detailed, more complicated, elevated information.
Growth demands you never stop being a student.
Right.
And once that self-teaching is in place, the focus shifts to intentional living. This means making every single area of your life feel dreamlike. And when you do that consistently, it creates this easy, almost automatic flow that's constantly reinforcing that new high-frequency identity.
It's all about eliminating chaos as your default state. Chaos is stressful, it's scarcity-minded, and it's totally incompatible with the dream life.
When you treat every moment with intention, you're signaling to your brain that this new elevated status is just normal. It's not a special occasion.
Absolutely. And the morning routine is the ultimate test for this intentionality. Instead of rushing, the first 2 hours are blocked out. But it's not just what she does, it's how she does it.
That's the key. The details matter. She describes wearing a gorgeous robe and special pajamas, lighting luxury candles, listening to high-vibe, elegant classical music.
This is not just self-care. It's a deliberate cognitive signal. By wrapping a mundane routine in luxury and ceremony, you're training your brain that this elevated environment is your new normal. You're conditioning yourself to believe you are worthy of that care.
So you're building an environment that mirrors the successful future self. You're making sure she never has to live in a constant rush. She meditates, journals, prioritizes fitness because, as she says, the dream woman doesn't live in chaos.
It's the ultimate feedback loop. If your internal state is aligned, your external environment has to reflect that alignment.
Beyond the routine, we get into what she calls mind mastery. She redefines manifestation not as, passive wishing, but as a 2-4-7 thing.
It's continuous work.
It is, and it dictates how you respond to stress, how you handle setbacks, and your whole self-perception. It's the difference between an abundance and a scarcity mindset.
In this continuous mind work, it informs every major decision, especially the financial ones. She talks about the importance of immediately reinvesting money back into the business, the team, the content.
And this often meant actively denying herself that immediate gratification like delaying buying a new bag or shoes.
Because the scarcity mindset always wants the reward now. But the abundance mindset invests in perpetual growth.
Speaking of teams, one of the most critical breakthroughs she discusses was the necessity of delegation and trusting others. I think a lot of people listening to this probably struggle with that. They've tied their identity to being busy.
That's the deep-seated psychological barrier we have to break down. It's that feeling that if you aren't overworked, you aren't valuable. People think it's honorable to carry all the responsibilities alone.
But it's actually self-sabotage.
It is. It's a form of self-sabotage and control anxiety. You're basically telling the universe you don't trust anyone else's talent or capacity.
So how do you get over that feeling that delegating is lazy or that only you can do it right?
The source gives a reality check. It's not self-loving or self-caring to have the weight of the world on your shoulders. A great team will always get you further than you can get just being all by yourself. The psychological shift is realizing your job changes from doing everything to leading the right people. You have to consciously let go of that martyr identity.
And that focus on relinquishing control leads to the final and maybe the most forceful lesson, the power of immediate action, just throwing myself into it. The author talks openly about feeling imposter syndrome, yet she still went to events, she pursued partnerships, she took opportunities even when she felt incredibly nervous and not ready for them.
This is the ultimate lesson in collapsing time. We so often fall into analysis paralysis, waiting for the perfect moment. But the lessons you learn from the experience itself are more powerful than any amount of preparation. The preparation is theoretical. Action is empirical.
That's what makes that quote so powerful. Every uncomfortable yes collapses time. It teaches your brain a vital lesson.
What's that?
That safety can exist throughout that risk and that fear.
When you constantly say those uncomfortable yeses, you neurologically rewire yourself. You learn that fear is just a signal, not a stop sign. The only true regret, as the author concludes, is never trying because of fear. That's the one outcome that is entirely your decision.
This has been such a comprehensive manual for rewriting your own identity. We've covered, the sacrificial nature of grieving your past self, manifesting through a relentless mindset, committing to self-teaching, building an intentional life, and then just choosing action over being comfortable. So the core challenge we'll pose to you, the listener, is to figure out which specific component of this dream self plan needs your attention first. Is it the funeral? Or is it the first uncomfortable yes?
And if we connect this whole transformation to the bigger picture, you have to remember that the journey of becoming the dream self is never really finished.
Yeah.
And that's not a failure, that's the design.
Right.
The continuing path of growth and leveling up, setting new goals that don't even link back to the old you, that is the most fun part.
Right.
This perpetual evolution ensures you become someone you could have never imagined yourself being.
Yeah.
You aren't aiming for some static finish line. You're signing up for a lifelong contract with ever-increasing capacity and capability.